All right. I want to welcome everyone to our AI on-ramp mini-series. This is the first session of what we hope will be many, many sessions as we all begin to advance in our understanding of how we can use Gen AI and how we can help our students understand the whole AI universe beyond Gen AI, and how it may impact their futures. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. There is a brief PowerPoint. I want to walk you through what the resources are. And then I'd really like for us to have a conversation about where you are in your AI journey and let's figure out what you need to move forward. So I'm going to share my screen. See if I can share the right screen this time. There we go. All right. So I know everyone's schedule is packed and there is no good time for this. So I really appreciate those of you who are here and those of you who will be watching the recording later for taking the time to join us. Um, Often AI feels overwhelming and we think I don't have the opportunity to learn something else. I just don't have the energy or the time. And sometimes we feel like this is just another tool, this is another thing that I've got to do. And we are hoping to help you kind of adapt to AI without making you feel overwhelmed. Um, Let me move to the next slide here. So, one of the things that I think is really significant is that as educators, we are in a position to help our students go out into the world and really understand what their opportunities are, but also to avoid some of the pitfalls. And that was a lot of pressure on us. So, what we're hoping to do in this session and the next couple of sessions is help you design a roadmap for how you're going to help your students. Because Gen AI is so transformative, has already been transformative. We've seen it in our classes. We often get caught up in talking about Gen AI in terms of how it impacts the students' class performance. And we really forget, I think, sometimes how Gen AI and other kinds of AI can help our students navigate the world and help them realize their potential in a way that they haven't been able to before. So while we were going to acknowledge worries about plagiarism, um, we're going to help you figure out ways to use Gen AI to create collaboration, to encourage critical thinking and reflection. And I'm really curious right now, as an English professor, this has been a big topic in my discipline. I'm curious about what your experiences have been with conversations in your own discipline um, about Gen AI and uh, how it is impacting, you know, education or even, you know, literary studies, but also if you're in health care, what is health policy management, if you're in higher ed, you know, what are the discussions that you see out there? You can put them in the chat, or you know, you can also just unmute and talk about it. Um, any Yes, people are afraid. And why are they afraid, Dr. Savage? What do you think it is? Like, you don't want to be called out for using AI, right? Because we have spent all of these years, the job market, yes, spent all of these years being trained to be researchers and to think and to create things on our own. And it is hard for us to even in our own teaching to lean on AI to help us with things. Yes, it'll replace our positions and that people will question whether or not what we're doing is our own work. Yeah, Karen says AI therapists are helpful, but yes, the problem with AI is it doesn't have limits. There's no agency going back or group saying to AI, yes, you are trained as a therapist, you know what the limits are, and we do all know about that young man who was depending on AI for emotional support for friendship, and it led him to commit suicide. So there are real challenges. I think that one of the things that would be a great conversation to have with students in your class is about where their concerns are about AI. So that's another way we can introduce it. All right, so we're aware of the transformative impact, we're aware of some of the challenges, but what does that mean for us? So I'm going to give you just a quick roadmap for today's session. We only have about 7 or 8 more slides, so we'll be finished quickly. Um, but what we're going to do today is I'm going to briefly talk about the resources that Jackson State and the Mississippi AI Network have partnered to provide to you, and then the resources that your colleagues at Jackson State in academic IT and in faculty development, Dr. Brittany Myberg is here, and in computer science have come together and they've taken those Mississippi AI Network resources and they've sort of embedded them in an AI infusion Canvas course. It is going to be a hub for you to help you uh, really navigate that larger set of resources. The other thing that we're going to talk about is what those AI resources are, the Intel modules. And we're going to have an honest conversation about what they are and how much they are and what you shouldn't be overwhelmed by them. You should really see them as a resource, but not feel like you have to use all of them. We've also developed an AI readiness survey. When you go to the AI Infusion course, and I'm going to show it to you in just a moment, um, you take that readiness survey and it will point you to the resources that you're probably at the stage to use. So if you're just starting out with Gen AI, you've hardly used it at all, except you've uh, looked around in Chat GPT, then you're going to start out at the beginning. But if you've been using Gen AI a lot and you want to kind of ramp up your use and figure out how to really incorporate it into your courses and how to incorporate discussion of AI into your courses with your students, then there's another level. And that readiness survey will help you identify your level. And then I'm going to share with you 3 of those Intel modules that we do recommend that all faculty explore and at some point integrate into your courses because we want our students to be knowledgeable about AI. And then we'll finish with some concrete next steps. So the first thing is the AI Infusion course and the AI Sandbox course. So I'm going to try to tell a long story in about 2 sentences. What what we've received, what Jackson State received as part of the state of Mississippi's Mississippi AI Network is access to dozens and dozens and dozens of already developed teaching modules related to anything AI, from AI ethics to what is AI, like a basic introduction to how do you build your own large language model, how you integrate a large language model uh, into a business. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff there. And it is so much stuff that it's very, very dense and difficult to sort through. But we took all of that stuff and I'll give special kudos to Dr. Elisa Mosley and Dr. Loretta Moore for leading this effort. It was a huge undertaking that Dr. Moore and the graduate students that she works with in computer science and her colleagues came together and they put everything in the AI sandbox and they organized it and they are still helping curate it and put notes in there and guides. But even with all the organization that they've done, we realized that that was a lot of stuff. So there's another wrinkle that we'll get to in a moment. So what they decided to do was create the AI Infusion, kind of an introductory course to what is JSU's AI future, what are we aiming for, and what are the pieces that we have now. And you see that image on the left side of the screen. That's the front page, the home page of the AI Infusion course. And the first thing that you see is Gen AI and teaching and learning. Of course, that's the thing that I care most about in faculty development, but there's a lot more there. There's also a link to the sandbox, and some things that are being developed about research and entrepreneurship. So once you have access to the AI Infusion course, as resources are added, you will be able to access those. You won't have to keep coming back and saying, give me access to these new things. They'll all be there. For now, what we're going to recommend is that you go through the AI Infusion course, you take the AI readiness survey, and I'm going to get out of the PowerPoint when I finish this list right here and show you the course. And then you can, when you're ready, you can request access to the AI sandbox with all of those Intel modules, some of which you can pull into your course. Another reason that we kind of are doing this two-step process is that once you get access to once you request access to the AI sandbox and those Intel modules, you do have to sign an agreement that says, I'm going to use these Intel modules, but I'm not going to change them. So you have to bring them into your course and either use the entire module, the whole slideshow, or honestly, you can say to your students, I just want you to look at slides 20 through 40, but you can't take slides out, you can't add slides in, because that intellectual property belongs to Intel. So what Dr. Moore and her team, Dr. Myberg, has assisted with this, they have created a form, and I'll show that to you in just a moment as well, and then kind of walk through it. So the Infusion course is your gateway to all of the AI resources at Jackson State. And there are teaching resources, a lot of those, and we'll just briefly glance at some of them. There's also a faculty discussion board. And I'm gonna confess that I have not used it yet because I've been trying to prepare for today. But one of the things that we want faculty to do is when you try something with Gen AI in your course, go to that discussion board and say, hey, I did this and here's how it worked out. Because we want to share with each other the things that we're doing, the things that are working, the challenges we have, or if you have a challenge in your course, post a discussion there and say, hey, has anyone dealt with this particular problem? I certainly know that plagiarism is an issue. And as an English professor, it's something that I work with my students on constantly. So I will post some of the things that I do. But we want you to use that faculty discussion board as a collaborative space. There are currently a few tool reviews, and those will continue to be added. So as people use things like PackBack, as they use Perplexity, other Gen AI tools, Claude, then we will ask them to post reviews there. The current policy guidelines, and there aren't many specific guidelines at Jackson State, but we're hoping that faculty will become engaged in discussing what they want to see, because this really has to be faculty driven. But those policy guidelines are posted there. And then, of course, a few of the Intel modules just to kind of see what they look like, and an overview of the list of Intel modules. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, and you can feel free to ask questions in the chat or unmute while I figure out how to get to my other screen. Let's see. There we go. No questions yet. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so this is the course itself, not just an image of it. And I'm going to view it as student. So you'll come in as a student, and this is what you'll see. there's the discussion board, and when you're ready to start uh, the survey, which is what I definitely recommend that you do first thing, we've got a Qualtrics survey embedded in here. And when you finish the survey, it will tell you what your readiness level is. And then it will link you directly to some pages that you can uh, use to guide your first steps through the infusion course. If you once you finish that, or if you've exhausted all those resources, you can also look in the Gen AI teaching and learning section, and there's another link to the readiness assessment. Here's a general introduction to Gen AI, and then some guidance on what to use, what platforms, AI assessment. And as modules are developed, they will be added related to Gen AI in teaching and learning. They will be placed in here. So this is a sort of a living document for you to use, a resource hub that we are growing and improving. And then these things are coming soon, as you see. They're still being worked on. All of this was stood up this summer. It was a really Herculean effort. So I'm impressed with my colleagues with what they did. Um, the AI sandbox for content infusion. So those are the Intel modules that I mentioned. And if you click there, then you will get a lot of guidance here about what's available, suggested topics, all kinds of links. But the thing that I want to point out particularly is this agreement form. Once you have looked through the modules, and we're going to talk about a few of them today, if you decide there's something you want to use, then if you click on this agreement form, it will come up, and here's all the legal stuff that says not gonna mess with what Intel has done. You can read it. Intel owns this. This is what Jackson State agrees to. So once you've read that, you enter your email address and you click that you have agreed. And then we want to collect some additional information, your name and J number, your department, all of that. We want to know how you're going to use the AI sandbox. And we're not just being nosy. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of Intel modules. And so what the team, Dr. Moore's team, is going to do is they're going to work with you to help you identify the best modules, and then they're going to create your AI sandbox just for you. So they're going to pull them out and create your own Canvas shell for your curated Intel AI resources. So there's some questions about how do you plan to incorporate them? What are you hoping to accomplish? And then here's the full list of modules that are currently available to you. And that Dr. Nyberg can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but I believe there are even more than this. But these are the ones that are currently available. So that list will continue to expand. She says yes. All right. So I just wanted to share that with you. Let me see what kind of questions I have in the chat here. Um, yes, so the course is not in your Canvas yet. I'm going to drop a link in the chat when I'm finished with the presentation, because I want to make sure. Oh, Brittany's done it. Okay, there we go. So if you see in the chat, there's the link, and you click on that and it will take you to the AI infusion course. Great. All right, so I'm going to save my student view, stop sharing. We could go back to the PowerPoint real quick, just a couple more things that I wanted to share. Let's see. Okay, so this is about access. Okay, so once you do get access, that's where you'll find everything that I've mentioned, the readiness survey, an overview of the Intel modules. And I strongly recommend, all of us recommend, that you become familiar with Gen AI. Play with it, explore it, look at different tools, and figure out what you need to enhance your teaching practice and to support your students, because every discipline is different. and what you need and what will work for you is going to be different from other folks. Then when you're ready, fill out that request for access to the Intel modules, and you can begin incorporating those into your courses. So we're going to talk today just very briefly about three specific courses. I want to encourage everyone to think about including these three courses. They are already developed. They are available for you. Module 5 is Inclusive AI. And it really looks at how bias in AI systems impacts the results that, the generative results of AI. So um, all of these modules are classroom ready, and they address some of the issues that I think as faculty at HBCUs, we really need to be um, aware of and engaging our students in discussion about. So the inclusive AI module, it's really about building awareness around access across disciplines and equity across disciplines. Then controlling the AI destiny. We want our students not just to be users of AI, but to be innovators and thinking about how AI can be used in ways that enhance their lives and support their goals and enhance their communities. And so thinking about the future of AI and how it is used is something that's important for us, but it's also important for our students. And this particular module helps us empower students to think about how AI is changing our social structure and how it's changing education and learning and opportunity, so that when they graduate, they aren't just, getting a traditional education with no awareness of what they're going to be out there facing. And we also see it as kind of a gateway for students to start thinking about how they can have an impact on what AI does in their own lives, in their own disciplines, and in their own communities. And then, of course, AI ethics. That has been a huge conversation in almost every space that I've been in that talks about AI, that people are concerned, not just about plagiarism, but about using AI for reasons that are nefarious. We've certainly seen, you know, uh, Gen AI create videos and statements that are not reliable. And we want our students to be able to think critically about what they're reading and seeing, and we want them to understand that to have a world that is full of people that you can trust and information that you can rely on, you've got to be vigilant about how you create things and your own behavior, and be aware of what other people are doing. And so since these are classroom ready modules that you can incorporate, it's not going to be a heavy lift to add them in. So this might be, a one meeting or a week if you want to talk about it. If you're in, say, public policy and administration, you may want to spend a solid week on AI ethics in public administration. And so here's the module. You don't have to build it out. It's already there. Um, so just repeating again that you can access these materials, you drop them into your course content on Canvas, but you can't change them. Now you can build a whole week of engagement with your students, or a whole day of engagement around the module, and you can approach it in any way that you want to. Um, Beyond those three, there's a whole list, and I briefly showed you the list. I can't even begin to remember all of them. I pulled these out, just these three: AI Made Easy, very intro for faculty and students who don't understand AI at all. Um, Design thinking, Dr. Myberg is going to talk about that in a few weeks, and she'll give us a preview in a moment. AI project pitfalls. What are the challenges and mistakes in in using AI? What do you want to avoid in using AI? And there are many, many more. So the recommendation is this: don't overwhelm yourself with the dozens and dozens of modules. There's plenty of time for us to incorporate these things as we and our students and our courses are ready, and we are moving toward that. We are trying to get you and Jackson State kind of at the forefront of this engagement with AI. But start focusing on the modules that match your current readiness and what your students need. Okay, so the readiness survey, just when you take it, you'll have 4 different categories. AI curious, you're just beginning. The AI Explorer, you've used some tools, you've used maybe a little bit in classroom applications, but you're really ready to start engaging more fully with AI in your teaching and learning. An AI integrator, you've already incorporated it into your courses and you've refined your teaching practices. Now you want to ramp up and think about how do you engage your students in critical understanding and use of AI. And then the AI changemaker, those are basically the people who are ready to build their own LLMs or incorporate it into their design of a whole new curriculum. And we want those folks here at Jackson State, but don't worry, we're not all going to be there right away. And this is available in the Infusion course. There's several places that you can click on it. So 3 engagement strategies that I recommend. First of all, choose an assignment and use some AI to enhance that assignment. It might be redesigning it. Um, it might be engaging students in using AI in an ethical way to address that assignment. I have received, I'll give you an example from my own students. I occasionally get things from students that are clearly written by AI. It's easy to identify them. And so, what I decided to start doing was asking students to write something in class, and then they all have devices, um, and pull up a ChatGPT or some other AI on their device and ask it to give them specific kinds of feedback on what they've written. So I might say, ask ChatGPT to to make suggestions for improving the transition between these 2 paragraphs, but tell it not to write the transition. And then we kind of walk through that process. After they've completed the rewriting, I tell them, all right, now ask ChatGPT to rewrite the transition. And it does. And inevitably they look at what ChatGPT did and what they did, and they realize that their own voice in what they wrote was much clearer and much more on point. But we had to go through that process. So that was how I used AI to enhance the assignment. I'm not going to be able to stop them from using it when they're not in the classroom, but I can engage them in thinking about how AI removes their voice from the process. And while it may make their writing easier, it's easy to recognize when it's not a real student assignment. So think about enhancing your own assignments. Think about enhancing students' understanding of how to use ChatGPT, and then create a module like inclusive AI in one of your existing courses. Just integrate it in there. That would be your second step. Beyond that, do some exploration in your discipline. What are people doing in your larger discipline to address AI usage? So a couple of examples, exploring AI ethics in criminal justice context, or entrepreneurial AI in business courses, or in teacher prep programs. There are all kinds of AI tools out there for K-12 instructors. What are people being taught about that? And how do you teach your own students about the use of AI? So I'd love for you to share what you're thinking about in terms of where you are. May not have had the readiness assessment yet, but share where you think you are in terms of moving into using AI. Have you already enhanced some assignments? Are you thinking about having a whole module or a whole day talking about AI ethics with your students? Where are you in the process? I'm going to drop this in the chat. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So one specific way you could imagine implementing these strategies. Let's see who we got here. All right, Dr. Savage says she'll discuss ethics and social work. Oh, yes. I think that in all of the counseling, social work, and health fields where you're dealing with a lot of personal information, um, of clients, of patients, that talking to your students about ethics is absolutely essential. So yes, thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? All right, so start thinking. I'm gonna quiz you all in a follow-up email. What have you decided to do? There we go, Janice. Um, yes, in research seminar. I met with a student yesterday and I could tell she had used AI and she was a graduate research student. And I said, hey, let's talk about this. What are you trying to accomplish here? And we had a meaningful conversation. And she said, all right, I'm going to go back and do this again. Sorry, good. So, letting them understand that they really need to be aware that people know when they've used it and be aware that it can impact them negatively. Dr. B. Rob says she created an assignment in music history for the first time. Awesome. Okay, Dr. B. Rob, we want you to go into our AI infusion course and share that in the discussion so that we can all learn from you. Yeah. So what did they say? Were they excited about it or were they shocked that you did it? They were excited.
At first, they were surprised that I had given it, but I think the rumor had gotten off that I was on a AI tirade the last couple of semesters. So they were kind of excited to have the opportunity to use it. But when they did the assignment, they realized that it wasn't the AI generated information wasn't completely accurate. It wasn't complete. It wasn't thorough enough for them to actually, because they had to generate a musical analysis using AI, and then they had to break down all the terms and all of the everything that analysis said in their own words. And they were like, it's not really as accurate. And I was like, huh, interesting. And also that it wasn't thorough. It didn't provide all the information they needed. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, and that's what they need. They need to have those kinds of experiences. You know, students have cheated since there have been students. We're not going to stop that. But if we make them aware of what they're losing when they depend totally on AI, then but also help them understand how they can use AI as a tool ethically and responsibly, then we put them in a much better place. So thank you for sharing that. Um, Anybody else? So our future sessions, and I'm going to ask Dr. Myberg to unmute and talk about design thinking. That's our next one in a couple of weeks. Entrepreneurial AI, we've invited an outside expert to come in, so hopefully she will be in. And then we're going to look at ethical boundaries and AI assignment design. We're actually going to try to partner with some specific departments. I've already talked to one chair about this so that we can help them sort of focus on how they can incorporate it into their whole curriculum and then share that curriculum with you. That'll probably be in January or February before we get around to sharing that. And then success stories. If you have a success story with AI, like Dr. B. Rob, we're going to write your name down and start inviting you to share with each other. We're going to do some 15, 20-minute chats throughout the spring semester, sharing those success stories. So, Dr. Myberg, you want to kind of give us an overview of the next session?
Sure, I'm very excited about it. I might just pull up one slide here to show everyone if that's okay.
Thank you. Okay.
But I'll start talking while we look at that. So I'll be talking about design thinking and its applications across lots of different disciplines. So I'll just pull this up here really briefly. But what the Intel module that's available talks about are these kind of processes where we're thinking about empathizing, defining, ideating, and prototyping, and where does AI fit into that process. I like to think of it as sort of like a double diamond, and this applies to research, this applies to projects. Design thinking is something that is applicable across various areas. So we use it a lot, for example, in graphic design or web design, but you can also use it when you're thinking about your own research. And so, how are we thinking about AI from a human centered perspective means how are we thinking about the ways in which it impacts communities out in the real world. And so that's really kind of going to be the focus of what we are talking about. And I'll be able to bring in some use cases from community members and business owners that we've helped through the AI agency, really focusing on design. And I want to stress, I know it's called design thinking, but it's not about design per se. It's about the way that you are designing your research, your engagement, your projects, so that they are community focused. And then one other thing I wanted to note is that as we kind of build out these modules in the generative AI for teaching and learning section, if we go to things like the link to overview of topics and use cases, anything that isn't built by Intel, we've done. So you actually can use and remix this content. And for example, the one I'd really love to build out with everyone is we've gone a little bit more in depth into bias and digital justice. There's one here specifically about the role of HBCUs, and I think that that is going to be central to the discussion we have around design thinking, because AI is going to impact our educational community in ways that are specific to the context of Jackson State being an HBCU. And so this is a module, for example, you are welcome to take and remix this content, but also hopefully help us build this out as a whole module, come up with examples that are Jackson State specific, come up with assignments. So that's kind of the preview. I know that's very non-specific.
It's awesome. No,
yeah. That's what we'll be doing.
Dr. Myberg and the whole sort of JSU AI learning community collaborative thing, I don't know what it's called. These are folks who just volunteered to help out and create these resources and figure out how we can all start a conversation. So when you have something to share, you can reach out to her, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Dr. Loretta Moore, who's kind of overseeing this whole Intel process. And in fact, Dr. Moore told me this morning that she had been thinking about classes that she's been teaching on AI, and she wanted to share kind of an overview of those. Yeah, these are some incredible resources. And so, where do you go next? Definitely use that link. We'll drop it in the chat again in a moment. Complete the readiness survey, explore the infusion course, look at the Intel modules, draft an AI aware assignment. If you haven't talked to your students about AI, see what you can do to draft an assignment. And my recommendation is this: what are your concerns? Write them up. and then drop them into ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm a professor of X and I want to talk to my students about this. Help me develop a 20-minute conversation with them and an activity that they can do. You can use ChatGPT too to help you figure out how to have these conversations. So draft that assignment, think about what your goals are, and then watch for future sessions. So Dr. Myberg's already talked about in a couple of weeks what we'll be doing. Let's see what questions we have here. So there is ongoing support available if you can't get into the AI infusion course, or if you just aren't really sure what to do next, just send us an email. I mean, we are happy to help. The JSU faculty development email is jsucus@jsums. You can send it directly to me, Candace Pizzetta, or you can reach out to Dr. Myberg and she'll point you in the right direction. You do not have to navigate this alone. I will say we worked this summer, 7 faculty worked on a course redesign. It was an incredible group of faculty, and I haven't looked at the list to see who's here today. But they used some AI resources in redesigning their courses or redesigning an assignment or a unit for this fall. We're going to do the same thing in November. We're going to have another course redesign using AI to help you target a specific thing. So we'll meet for about an hour a week, every week in November, to help you for spring. So if you're interested in that, just we'll send out the notification closer to time. But we really appreciate you spending your time here with us today. I think that if you've been in education as long as I have, you see a lot of things come and go. Oh, here's the new thing, here's the new thing, here's the new thing. This isn't the new thing. This is the thing. This is what is going to really change the way that we look at education. And we have to be on the forward edge of that vanguard. And we have to be asking ourselves, how can we make this work for our students to help them take advantage of opportunities now instead of just getting left behind. So thank you for being here. I want to know what questions, what challenges you're having. We have a few minutes before the end of the session. Dr. Emily Moses is here. She is also working with some of the great things that are happening in AI at JSU. The whole team, Dr. Michael Robinson, I believe, is working with a whole team of people to build JSU's own large language model, large language model. And what that will do is that will allow you to use something ChatGPT like that doesn't put your information out there for-profit companies. Instead, it will be housed on JSU's own servers, own model. So we're really excited about that. Any other questions? Does anyone else need the, oh yes, Dr. Savage. Yes. Will there be any research opportunities on this experience? Absolutely. Dr. Myberg, I'm going to call on you one more time to share, this time about the journal that you guys have launched around AI.
I'll drop that in the chat. I see Dr. Robinson is here too, who's one of our associate editors. So this was in partnership with the Mississippi AI Collaborative. It's Generative Minds, the Journal of Artificial Intelligence in Education. And I will drop a link to that in the chat. There are 3 areas that the journal publishes in. There's bytes, like computer bytes, which are, I know we're really funny, up to 800 words. And then there's features, which is up to 2,000 words. And then there are full research articles. So submissions are open for our next issue until November, I think. But then obviously beyond that, it will accept submissions on a rolling basis. So that could be a really, really great platform for a group of faculty perhaps who are thinking about reporting on how they've integrated AI into courses to publish on that experience in a variety of different formats. So I'll drop a link to that.
Yes, and for you, Dr. Savage, and the other new faculty, we do have a workshop in a few weeks, about a month and a half, collaboration workshop. So we will bring in people who are interested in the topics that you're interested in, and see if you can find collaborators on campus. So yeah, that we will add that to our topic list, because it's definitely something that if you're using Gen AI or teaching your students about it, you should be collecting data on what you're doing so that you can share that and publish that. All right. Any other questions, comments, anything you want to share? Has everyone captured the link to the AI Infusion course? Yes. And if you came, we had a meeting maybe right at the beginning of the semester, right before the semester started. If you completed the AI readiness survey, then we've upgraded it, and it will take you directly to some resources. So feel free to go back and look at that. Yes, and Dr. Myberg says this is an e-journal, so they can publish media too. All right, well, thank you all for being here. I wish I could remember off the top of my head when the next session is. It's in about 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Yeah. But it should be on your calendar. If you didn't get the calendar invite, drop your email in the chat so we can make sure that we have everyone on there. A couple of folks called me yesterday and said, I heard about this AI thing and I didn't get the invite. So we're not excluding anyone. All right. Thank you all. We'll see you in a few weeks.